Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? How are things? I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to bring more information. This is a channeling that I'm bringing to you guys now. And thankfully, I was on my computer this time and I was able to get quite a lot of insight. Generally, not so much that we wouldn't know, but at least we have someone that's willing to communicate with us and have me interpret this information to you guys. This is very interesting, and it's just needs to go out so that you can see it and you can form your own opinions on what I'm about to read to you. Thankfully, I did get to write this down. So this is a Pleiadian, and this individual, I received this channeled message from them, and they simply just started to speak, and we sort of did a Q&A, and this Q&A was very rapid fire. It wasn't very thought out. I felt that there must have been maybe some time constraint, or I wasn't in tune very well much because I was doing a few other things. I was on my phone, I had the TV on, and I was looking for something on my computer, and all of a sudden I have this channel message that wants to come through. So I had my mind on other things while this was happening. So let's get to this. So this is how it starts. I choose not to go by any name, but I am 120 years old. No relation. I am what you would call a young adult, comparable to a 21-year-old on Gaia. So she mentions, she says Gaia as planet Earth is how the way this individual has interpreted our planet to be. The way that we can control our minds and focus, as a lot of you are on Gaia, is comparable with the way that we can be telepathic. Anyone can be telepathic. A lot of special needs children are of higher dimensions, sort of stuck in this realm in order to channel or ground the energies for ascensions. They consciously, and she laughs, she chuckles, they consciously, if you will, choose this path to assist Gaia in her upliftment. We very eagerly observe the progress on Gaia. There are no active updates that you would say are needed. But if you tune to the active energies, you can be let know of the progress in a way that you can understand. So that first sentence, it quite doesn't make any sense. But as I continue to go through the reading it, because I've read it to myself just once or twice before doing this, we can look at a few things. She says in the beginning, she says, the way we can control our minds and focus on a lot of you, the way that we can control our minds and focus as a lot of you are on Gaia is comparable with the way that we can be telepathic. Anyone can be telepathic. Then she goes on to say, but if you tune the active energies, you can be let know of the progress in a way that you can understand. So she eagerly observes the progress of Gaia. There are no active updates that you would say are needed. But if you tune to the active energies, you can be let know of the progress in a way that you can understand. So she says that the way her mind works is very the way her mind works is very different. She can tune into certain things and thus be let into that energy, and then you can interpret what the information is on that frequency. And I tell myself these examples for myself so that I can keep my own alignment in check and keep a lot of the things that I think about, keep myself focused on a lot of things. We have a AM and FM band, and within that band, you have certain frequencies that emit sound. So the band is the same. What changes is the elevation of frequency within that AM or FM station or that signal that allows you to capture or receive different information. So she's attuned with herself, right? You can you can feel yourself and not just the exterior. Now you can feel your own energy, right? You can feel your own energy. You're feeling your own purposeful essence of who you are. And that is very important because I'm going to speak to you about very specifics and things that I think would help each and every one of us so we can get closer together or achieve some kind of normalcy as we go along because I believe this is important and we're moving right to it. I have my obsidian, I think, and it helps with my throat chakra and it helps with my third eye as well. So it brings out truth and it's a very painful process to go through as you start to clear your energies. And I'm ready to take that journey because it's it's part of where we need to be and wherever we may need to be, it's where we're going. It's that's where I want to go. So you can join me, and I think you probably already have. So I have a little more to say about this when we go forward. So she's saying she can tune into this energy. She can tune into the frequencies of what may be happening at a higher level regarding specifics maybe on planet Earth, but she chooses not to, but she can. All right, so this is another sort of question that was asked, and basically, as I think of the question, she just blurts out the answer. So you're getting answers to the questions that I have, that I've asked of her. Let's see. So the question was, what's your role? Have you chosen a career path? The answer is, I have not chosen a career path, so to speak. I am, as you would say, on vacation and actively watching the show. She says she doesn't have a boyfriend. Um, and the show is, of course, what's going on planet Earth. Are your parents of the Federation? She says, neither of my parents are of the Federation. Their union was not destined, but they did feel a need to be with one another. They did feel the need to be with one another, always in love. So the next question was, how close or how much contact do you have with the Federation? How do they police the environment? The galaxy or the planet or the solar system, right? How does that work? So how close or how much contact do you have with the Federation? We don't have Federation on planet per se, but there are ships that patrol. They have to go through quite a few other planets before getting to this one. And that's very interesting that we're getting this communication, this channel for someone that's in the Pleiades, but it's a star system that includes a planet that we can't visually see with the telescopes or with the naked eye of how the Pleiades look from planet Earth looking outwardly. So there are more planets beyond this space that we can't see that are there. How is government organized? And she just answers, we don't bully each other. So if you could choose a name, what would it be? And she said, it would start with an M. And she says, Maria or Mariah. Would you want to join the Federation? Now, I could have just chosen this next answer. I try to be as broad in the answer as possible. But let me just say what the answer is, and I'll just explain a little of what I mean. She says, my father deals with the medicine. I am inclined towards being in that field. And then we ask, scientist? Yes and no. I'm still thinking about it. So, some form of science, and then she specifically said medicine. I always like to think like plant medicine because I don't think they have like, big pharma or anything out there. So my first thought of what I could write down as a response was medicine, and I had a picture of like a plant, a medicinal plant. So she wants to follow in her father's footsteps. That's great. Good for you. Now this one seems to be a little bit more specific to someone, and it seems like she's wanting to be very helpful in this case. And as I read it again and again, I didn't edit this. I did add a few of the things that I remembered as we go along. But she goes on to say, I kind of ask, right? How does the law of non-interference work? The basic framework is not to get involved at all. She says, do not contaminate in a good way. How much would you contaminate? If you could contaminate, how much would you? She says, as little as possible. Now she just jokingly says, except that the plants would interest me greatly. And she says, those I will contaminate, laugh out loud. Do you know the law of attraction? She says, my education is advanced, as in master's degree levels, as our understanding is easier of these things. Different beings, different ways of growing up. You could be taught as you are allowed to learn. There are no restrictions or limits, like necessities. And then she says, like, I need to leave poverty, so I chose this or that career. There's learning because you want to learn. There's not a learning to escape some sort of condition that you're under while you're living on a planet. So there's none of that. So you could be taught as you're allowed to learn, and there are no restrictions or limits. Like necessities, like I need to leave poverty, so I choose this or that career. She says, no. That career chose you because it would lead you out of poverty. And then she says, how is that for the law of attraction? It's very interesting that she mentions that in that way. So before I started this video, and the reason why I'm putting this video out here is very specific, and I'm just going to go on and say it here. I was on my phone and I was reading an article, and the article was about setting expectations, right? So if you care to listen here, I wrote and typed a few things down, and I'm going to read something off my phone, which I think is important to keep in mind as we move forward. So what I wrote is very simply this. I was reading an article online, and the last sentence of the article read about a couple getting married and wanting a right now definitive outcome to a request for wedding planning for the groom's parents. And the word that stood out was, for me, setting expectations. I Googled it, and then just a few things came up. And this is for you guys that want to participate more. For you guys that are maybe in the right path, but not doing it in the right way. So really for us, it's the whole reason why I'm going to read this here. Nothing more. So I got curious and I said, you know what? I'm just going to look this up. And a lot of these things rang a bell for me. And I feel that you should, other than the message from the Pleiades, I think this is important as well. So when I typed that in, the first few things that came up, it's what drew my attention. So what it says, how to manage expectations in life. Give yourself time. We want stuff when we want it, but that can make us hard on ourselves in terms of personal expectations. I want it now. I can buy a car in 30 days or I can buy it right now. You would rather have it right now, wouldn't you? And then bullet points, there's 5. Adapt to changing expectations. Don't judge yourself too harshly. Communicate about everything. Prepare for problems. And predict the other person's expectations. So I'm just going to leave that at that. You can do your own homework when you have the time. The other thing that just caught my eye, which are these 2 things. Separate your self-worth from the outcome. There's nothing as damaging as trying your self-worth. There's nothing as damaging as tying your self-worth to losing a few pounds or getting that promotion or hitting your GPA target. Be realistic with yourself. Try and try again. So if your parents are going to meet someone new, set the right expectation for what you know would probably happen, and don't put that situation on a pedestal. Each and every one of those goals you want to hit, because you'll be hurting yourself more if you just don't say, well, this is what's probably going to happen. And instead of thinking of the unrealistic best possible outcome, think of just a very realistic possible outcome for your situation. So I guess for us that means don't try too hard. When I do my channeling, I let it come to me. If I've gotten information, I've gotten channelings that and I'm just gonna end it with this right here. But I've gotten communications and channelings that are they're just not there. I get a few pieces of information here. It sounds interesting. It feels great. I know what's coming, but I'm not in the right place to do that. I'm not in the right situation to do that. And I don't necessarily block it off, but I acknowledge that, yes, there's a channeling coming. And I also acknowledge, okay, I can't do it right now, but I will try and do it later. Or I'll piece it together with something that makes sense. And now that helps me set adequate expectations for myself and for others and the situations that we're going through, so we can take 5 years and make it into 3 years if we set ourselves up correctly. Lay the groundwork, so to speak, so that you can build on solid foundation and not just happy-go-lucky, very nonchalant about a lot of things that are reasonable and that should be reasonable and shouldn't be, castles in the sky or very well wishes on the situations that are placed upon us, because, Earth life is Earth life, and we're all here on a mission too. So it's a lot of things you have to let go of so that you can let new things come into your life, better things that are for you. I'm just going to throw this in here really fast. I'm trying to make it less than 20 minutes, hopefully. Because I've received a channeling and I've reminded myself of those 120 years of this very young adult, I want to say that our Donna, and I've spoken about this maybe once before, she's from the Federation, and I remember her saying that she, at her 120 years, 130 years, she graduated, so to speak, unlike our Mariah or Maria that's on vacation here, and she immediately did want to go into the Federation. And what popped into my head was the Declaration of Independence, that it's about 350 years since then. So Ardana was, or at the point of her wanting to join the Federation, was 120. and she's been at in the Federation for 350 years since then. And I just started doing some simple math. I believe these beings live up to 750 years. As trying to be reasonable. I'm not trying to say 2,000 years, but reasonably speaking, I think they're about 750 years, maybe less. But it's the amount of time that makes sense to me. Either way, just to be a young adult, a 22, 25-year-old, whatever, and having achieved that at 120 years, it's very interesting. So I'll leave you with that. I hope you guys have a great day. I definitely hope I ruffled some feathers. And if anything, I will reach out to you as soon as I get anything else. And any other update that may come along my way, I'll make sure to bring it to you as soon as possible. Hope you guys have a great day and enjoy the rest of your morning. Take care, guys.